Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Sociology with Mahima. Today we will discuss the feminist approach in sociology, which has become one of the most powerful and transformative way of studying society. To understand this approach, we must first ask a simple question: whose experiences have been represented in traditional social science? For a long time, sociology, history, anthropology, and even economics were written primarily by men and about men. Women experiences, their labor, their roles, their struggles, their perspective were either ignored or treated as secondary. This created an incomplete and biased understanding of society. The feminist approach emerged precisely to challenge this imbalance. Now, what is the feminist approach? The feminist approach is a method of doing social research that places women experiences at the center of analysis. It doesn't mean it studies only women. It studies society with an awareness of gender as a fundamental organizing principle. A very important claim of the feminist approach is that knowledge is not neutral or objective. Traditional sociologists often assumed that researchers could be completely neutral. Feminists reject this. They argue that knowledge is shaped by power relations, and research reflects the value of those who produce it. This means that what we call objective knowledge may actually reflect male perspectives, male priorities, and male experiences. Feminist sociology grew as a reaction to traditional sociology's failures. For decades, sociology neglected women's voices and ignored women's experiences. This created a lopsided understanding of society. Feminist sociology directly investigates how social structures define gender roles and gendered status. It examines how institutions shape, reinforce, or challenge gender inequalities. It also studies how everyday practices, language, and cultural norms produces expectations about what men and women should do. Now that we understand what the feminist approach is, let's look at the major thinkers who shaped it. Let's begin with Mariam Ais, a prominent feminist scholar known for her work on methodology. Mai strongly rejected the idea of value-free research, which traditional sociology promoted. According to her, research can never be neutral because the social world itself is shaped by inequality. She argued that instead of pretending to be detached, researchers should adopt a conscious bias in favor of women, especially in favor of their struggles for justice and social change. Mize also introduced the ideas of conscientization and reflexivity. Conscientization means developing critical awareness, helping women recognize oppression and take action. And reflexivity means researchers should constantly reflect on how their own position, identity, and biases influence their research. Next is Dorothy Smith. One of the most influential feminist sociologists, she developed feminist standpoint theory, which argues that knowledge should begin from the lives and experiences of women, because women occupy a different social position compared to men, and this gives them a unique standpoint from which to understand society. Dorothy Smith also introduced the famous concept of bifurcated consciousness. This refers to the split that women experience between their everyday lived reality and the official world, institutions, texts, and rules created mostly by men. She argued that traditional sociology speaks mainly from the male standpoint and ignores women's everyday knowledge. Her work helped transform sociology by insisting that women's voices and experiences must be the starting point of all social analysis. Another important contributor is Rosemary Tong, known for her comparative work on different feminist theories. Tong wrote the influential book Feminist Thought, where she presents feminism not as a single ideology but as a diverse intellectual project with many branches. She compared and explained various feminist perspectives such as liberal feminism, Marxist feminism, radical feminism, socialist feminism, and postmodern feminism. Tong's contribution lies in helping students and researchers understand how each type of feminism offers different explanation of gender inequality. Her comparative approach made feminist theory more accessible and academically organized. Finally, we should acknowledge the early pioneers whose activism laid the groundwork for modern feminism. Thinkers like John Stuart Mill and activists like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony played the key roles in the 19th century struggle for women's rights. John Stuart Mill, a philosopher, argued for gender equality and women's liberty in his book The Subjection of Women. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony were central figures in the women's suffrage movement in the United States. They campaigned tirelessly for women's right to vote, own property, and receive education. These pioneers helped challenge the deep-rooted patriarchal norms of their time. Their activism created the first wave of feminism and inspired the intellectual development that later scholars built upon. Now that we have understood the core ideas of feminist approach and its key thinkers, let's explore how this approach developed over time. Sociologists generally identify three major stages in the evolution of feminist thought since the 1970s. The first stage, emerging strongly in the early 1970s, concentrated on what were called sex differences. This stage focused heavily on the biological properties of individuals. At this time, sociologists were trying to figure out if gendered behavior like nurturing, aggression, leadership, or emotionality were the result of natural biological traits. Although this stage was important for opening up discussion about women, it also had limitation. It often reinforced the idea that gender is based on natural differences rather than social structures. Still, stage 1 provided the groundwork for later more critical approaches. In the second stage, research took a very important turn. Instead of focusing on biology, scholars began examining sex roles. That is, the social expectations attached to being male or female. Research emphasized the process of socialization, showing how children learn to behave like boys or behave like girls. This stage exposed gender as the product of specific social arrangements, not something naturally fixed. However, gender was still treated mostly as an individual characteristic, something a person has rather than something built into social structures. So, while stage 2 moved beyond biology, it had not yet fully understood gender as a system of power. The third stage represents the most advanced development in feminist sociology. Here, researchers recognize that gender is not just an individual trait or set of roles. Instead, gender is understood as a central organizing principle of society. This means gender shapes every major social institution. Gender is now seen as something that structures power, resources, opportunities, and identities across all of society. Stage 3 understands gender as a system, a set of rules and expectations that organizes how society functions. Now, let's discuss the key features of the feminist perspective. One of the most important characteristics of the feminist perspective is that it begins with women's everyday experiences. Traditional sociology treated men's life as if they represented the entire human experience. Women's stories were often ignored or seen as secondary. Feminist scholars challenged this by saying women's experiences are equally important, women's perspective must be taken seriously, and research should start by listening to women directly. This means feminist research focuses on women's daily struggles, emotion, labor, relationships, and social realities, instead of assuming men's lives are universal. The second major feature is intersectionality. The idea that not all women live the same kind of life. Women experience the world differently based on caste, class, race, ethnicity, religion, sexuality, age, and disability. This means oppression is layered, not uniform. Intersectionality teaches us to study these multiple connections and understand how gender inequality operates differently for different women. The third feature is reflexivity, which means the researcher must constantly examine themselves. Feminist methodology asks researchers to reflect on their personal biases, social position, privilege, beliefs, and emotional involvement. Instead of pretending to be a neutral observer, the feminist researcher openly acknowledges that their own background shapes how they see the world. This is important because knowledge is never created from nowhere. It always comes from someone's standpoint. Reflexivity makes research more honest, ethical, and transparent. Traditional sociology claims that good research should be value-free, meaning the researcher should be completely neutral. Feminists strongly disagree. They argue that no research is ever truly value-free. Every researcher carries assumptions and values. The claim of neutrality often hides male dominance. Another key feature is that feminist knowledge is not just for understanding the world, but for changing it. Maria Mize called this idea conscious partiality. It means feminist research openly supports women's struggles. The researcher aligns with the oppressed. The purpose of research is transformation, not just observation. So, instead of pretending to be detached, feminist scholars show a deliberate commitment to justice, equality, and social change. It is activist in spirit, not merely academic. Traditional sociology focused mainly on the public sphere. The private sphere was ignored, treated as natural, or considered unimportant. Feminists argue that this division is artificial and deeply political. They emphasize that the personal is political. Homes are not neutral places, they are shaped by power, gender roles, and hierarchy. Domestic labor, childcare, and reproduction are essential to understanding gender inequality. By bringing attention to the private sphere, feminist scholars reveal how much unpaid and invisible labor women perform and how patriarchy is reproduced inside home. Now let us explore how feminist discourse developed in India. Unlike Western feminism, Indian feminist thought grew out of our own specific social realities. Feminist discourse in India has evolved through a critical examination of everyday life. Indian feminists look closely at marriage, family, caste, class, sexuality, and routine social interactions. Unlike gender theories, Indian feminist discourse is deeply grounded in lived realities. The cultural expectations, traditions, and social hierarchies that women face every day. One of the strongest areas of debate in Indian feminism has been the institution of marriage and the structure of the family. Because marriage and family are central sites where gender inequality is created, justified, and maintained. Indian feminists argue that patriarchy is often practiced most intensely inside the home. A major turning point in Indian feminist thought came when Dalit women pointed out the limitations of mainstream feminism. They argued that mainstream feminism focused mostly on upper caste, middle class concerns. It did not fully recognize the violence and discrimination faced by Dalit women. Caste and gender cannot be separated, they operate together. Dalit women's voices expanded feminist discourse by showing that oppression is not identical for all women. This intervention forced Indian feminism to become more inclusive, intersectional, and grounded in caste realities. A key institutional milestone in this expansion was the formation of the National Federation of Dalit Women, or NFDW. This nationwide organization gave Dalit women a collective platform. NFDW played a powerful role in exposing how caste oppression shaped women's lives differently. It marked a shift from a universal idea of Indian women to an understanding of diverse experiences shaped by caste, class, and community. Throughout the history of the feminist movement in India, one theme has remained central: violence against women. Feminist groups have continuously campaigned for stronger laws, better implementation, sensitivity in police and courts, and social awareness. Legal inequalities such as discriminatory personal laws in marriage, inheritance, and property also remain major concerns. Indian feminist activism fights to reform these laws and ensure justice and equal citizenship for all women. Now let us bring together everything we have learned about the feminist approach. Farey, Marx, Lober, and Hess remind us of something very important. The feminist approach aims to make gender visible in every aspect of society. This means that gender is not a side topic or a woman's issue, it is central organizing principle of social life. Their work shows that gender inequality is never isolated. It is interconnected with many other systems of inequality. Today, universities around the world teach gender theories as part of mainstream sociology. This is a major transformation because earlier feminist research was seen as marginal, alternative, or separate. This shows that feminism has reshaped the discipline itself. Sociology cannot be taught today without acknowledging feminist contributions. A very important point. feminist research is not limited to women researchers. Although feminism centers women experiences, the approach is not restricted by gender. Anyone, male, female, non-binary, can use feminist perspectives to study society. Often, people assume that feminism is only about women's stories, but feminist scholarships has contributed far more than that. It has introduced new themes such as domestic labor, sexuality, reproductive rights, and gendered violence. New concepts such as patriarchy, standpoint theory, intersectionality, and emotional labor. New methods including reflexive and participatory approaches. Because of these contributions, feminism has expanded the boundaries of sociology itself. Some scholars even argue that feminism is developing into a new sociological paradigm. Feminism offers a new way of seeing the world, one that uncovers hidden power structures, questions taken for granted norms, and reconstructs social reality from the standpoint of the marginalized. In this sense, feminist sociology is not just adding to the discipline, it is redefining how we understand society. Modern feminist research is more inclusive than ever before. Earlier feminism sometimes represented the experiences of only certain groups of women, often upper class or upper caste. But today, feminist scholarship recognizes diversity. This inclusiveness makes feminist research richer, more accurate, and more reflective of real human diversity. That's all for today's video. I hope you like the content. See you in the next video.